reflective of what was happening in the market. If you really look at steel realizations over the last 3, 4 years, it's been very challenging because of the fact that China has been exporting more than 10 million tons a month, for the last 3 years. And that's had an impact on international prices. It has had an impact on domestic prices as well. So it was a reflection of that. But we started seeing things change towards the end of the quarter, and steel prices started going up. So we expect realizations to be better this quarter than it was in Q3.
And you see the same for Europe as well?
So Europe, in UK, we will see a slight improvement. In Netherlands, we will see an improvement on the spot prices, where the, hot rolled coil prices have already gone up by 20, 30 euros. But because of mix issues, because we're going to be selling almost 400,000 tons more in Q4 than in Q3. And a lot of that is going to engineering sector and other sectors where the mix is not as great as a high end. So it's more a mix impact. You will see the realizations drop by about 30 euros compared to Q3. But on a spot basis, actually the prices are up.
Is it also because that you've shifted some of the sales to the European markets as compared to the US because of the tariffs?
Yeah, that's also true. That's reflected in the mix because we used to sell 10% of our steel from Netherlands to the US, and pretty much all of it was very high-end steels, particularly packaging steels. So those contracts are being renegotiated. Those volumes are coming down. Some of the impact of the 50% duty that US has on Netherlands exports or European exports is getting absorbed by customers, but some of it is getting absorbed by us. So we are seeing a drop in volumes of exports to the US and a drop in prices because of the impact of the tariffs. And that's reflected, as I said, in the mix impact. And some of those volumes, when they're sold in Europe, are not at that high-end application because you don't have the requirement for that in Europe for those volumes.
Expect the negotiations to get completed, and as you said, some of the cost is getting absorbed by the clients and some by you. Will that compress the margins for you for future sales to the US market?
No, for sales to US market, yes. But I think overall our margins in Netherlands is expected to improve quarter on quarter because the domestic prices in Europe are going up because of the CBAM, because of the safeguard duties which are in place, because the European Union is bringing down the import quotas by to half what it was. So because of these reasons, we expect in this calendar year, the steel prices to be much higher in Europe than it has been in the last calendar year. And that will have a positive impact on our margin. So we will lose a bit because of US, but we will gain a lot because of what's happening in the European domestic market.
How are you managing the cost pressures with respect to coking coal prices, which are inching up?
So there are cost takeout actions at an overall level that we launched across geographies. At the beginning of the year, we had said that we're going to take out 11,500 crores of costs across UK, Netherlands, and India. We are well on track to achieve that for the year. So that is why even last quarter's numbers have been pretty good despite the market conditions. So going forward, those cost takeouts will certainly help us. Coking coal prices going up will have an impact because coking coal costs are typically 30 to 40% of the cost of making steel. So coking coal prices have gone up by about $50 in the last 6 weeks or so. On a consumption basis, our coking coal cost will go up by about $15 for India, will stay flat for Netherlands, and we don't buy coke now for UK. So the impact will be limited for Q4, will be a bit more visible in Q1 of next year, which we'll guide when we do the next media call after the results. But I also expect that because coking coal prices are going up, there will be pressure on steel prices to go up as well to support or recover the cost impact of the coking coal prices going up.
What is the timeline for the revamp of the entire business in the UK? And have you been able to negotiate a deal with the government of Netherlands with respect to restructuring of the business there?
So in UK, there are actions that we have to take. One is, like I said, close a blast furnace, build an electric arc furnace. That is going as per plan. There are some delays that we are seeing from the national grid on the supply of electricity. We are in conversation with them to see how can they improve on the timeline that they've given us. But largely, directionally, we are moving as expected. Where we have a problem in UK is no policy support as yet, like we've received in Europe or in India. No safeguard duties yet, no reduction in quotas yet. So we're expecting some of those announcements or actions to be taken in the next few months or weeks. So that will help us in the UK. Help us become EBITDA break-even or EBITDA positive while we transform into a new process route. In Netherlands, the conversations are going on with the government. We've signed a non-binding letter of intent in September 25. We have time till September 26 to conclude the CPs, the conditions precedents that both sides have. So we are in the process of addressing that and continue discussions with the government. They had an election in Netherlands and a new government is also being formed. So we are moving, it's going on as per track. And by September this year, we'll come to the final agreement.
We spoke briefly about the CBAM impact because the quotas are getting slashed by half, and and I think Europe is also putting 50% tariff for any imports as well. Do you see enough capacity globally with respect to green steel coming in? Because the quota is with respect to the green steel, and there is if anyone is able to supply green steel, will that have an impact on your market?
So I think what the CBAM is actually it is a equalization tax. It should be seen as that because we as a steel producer in Europe pay the carbon tax in Europe for our production. So the CBAM is about anyone selling in Europe paying the same tax as the producers in Europe pay, right? So that's the philosophy of CBAM. Obviously it's not about having green steel. It's more about the lowest your CO2 footprint is, the less tax you will pay. So our actions in Netherlands, etc., or in UK for that matter, are all about reducing the CO2 footprint. So if anybody else anywhere in the world does similar transformations and produce low CO2 steels, then they need to pay less carbon border adjustment tax. So that's how we see it. But there are conditions in Europe, so it's not easy to just ship steel to Europe. There are quotas also, as I said. Plus customers there, particularly the high-end customers, will look for you to approve the supply. It's not about just buying cheaper steel. So I feel that the European market will get more disciplined going forward because of limitation in imports and more kind of restructuring of the supply side because of the transition to green steel. So overall, I think it's a positive movement.
You had planned for nearly 15,000 crores of capex for FY26. So where are we on that?
We are on track for that. Most of it was in India, and most of it was for the Kalinganagar project, and some of it for the Ludhiana project. Everything is